Okay, record is on. All right, we're live here with Christian Peter, CEO and founder of HomeBuzz, entrepreneur.
Hey, Rod.
And, can you hear me? You hear me
I
okay?
can. Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're here on with Christian Peter, CEO of HomeBuzz, and also entrepreneur and father, right? Father and investor, a man of many talents. So welcome and thank you for coming on and giving us your time today.
Sure.
So we're going to talk a little bit about startups. We're going to talk a little bit about apps, and we have a really cool app that's just been launched, and we're going to be sharing how it's going to be impacting the real estate world primarily across the board, and we'll dive into that. And what I want to start with first, Christian, I kind of consider myself a techie, but at the same time, I realize every day how much of a techie I'm not, as I learn that there's so much stuff that I don't know. And ever since you and I met through Eric, a close friend of mine, I've obviously been impressed with, your commitment to following through and whatever, by any means necessary, accomplishing your goals. We live here in a city that's primarily known for startups. I think I was reading not too long ago, San Diego is actually having one of the fastest paces of startups that are actually coming in here to San Diego and doing business. I was reading not too long ago. I think I was in I think it was Ocean Beach Times, that I was either reading that in. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, as far as startups goes, can you kind of break that down for those that maybe even be listening or viewers, what that entails and what you had to go through to get that process going for your new idea, which is HomeBuzz?
Sure, Rod. Yeah. I mean, startups are basically anything that you do on your own. The term would be bootstrapped, which means you're basically working out of your own pocket, supporting everything that you do. You being in real estate, startup culture, really well, because everything that you do, every dime that you spend basically needs to equate to something that goes back into your own pocket, right?
Yes, exactly. Now, let me ask you this: as far as the startup goes, I mean, I read the definition. Startup is generally related to concepts of ambition, innovation, scalability, and growth. So as you start this process, where do you fall in it from innovation? I mean, from ambition, innovation, scalability, and growth? How do you measure that, or how do you stay on top of making sure you're hitting those points and accomplishing your task or your overall goal?
Sure. Well, I mean, really what we're looking for is solving a problem, right? I mean, that's what any startups out there, at least the good ones, are trying to solve a problem. Most, startups they've got a mission to go out there and make things better. So, what we're looking at is what's the problem? How do we solve it? And how much time and effort it's going to take? And is that going to be worth it? And if so, can we scale that? Is it a problem that other people are having? And is it something that we can do that's going to benefit everybody else? And then what really venture capitalists are looking at is it the way to monetize that? Can you make money off of that problem? So how can you take that problem that people are having, create a solution, and then make money from it?
Correct. Okay. So now that you've kind of shared that, what's the challenges that you face so far in this startup that you've actually created? And you actually have two, by the way, but we're talking primarily about HomeBuzz. I don't even know how you're able to manage with a second, let alone one. But what are some of the challenges that you face for those that are even considering starting their own startups, or you kind of shared what the foundation and what it takes to get going, or what you have to be focused on? But what are some of the challenges that you face thus far?
So the biggest challenge right away is you've got to figure out what your vision is. What are you going to do? How are you going to be able to share that?
Correct.
And is anybody going to really want it? So really what we're looking at is we want to get to a minimal viable product as quickly as possible. And by minimum viable product, I mean we want to get a actual prototype that we can get to the public and get feedback. So we want to know what it is that people want, and are we on the right track? We want to get their feedback, and we want to see, okay, is this something that people are going to use? Do they like it? Or is this something that we're just kind of not going to appeal to anybody? Is it going to be something that we thought was a good idea, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, it doesn't appeal to a broad market? So we want to get to that stage as quickly as we can for as least amount of money and time as we possibly can, right? Because nobody wants to spend years of their life or hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars to come up with an idea that they found out was unmarketable and wasn't going to make them any money.
Correct. And thanks for sharing that. And it leads to my next question, since you covered that, the idea, where did that formulate? What do you mean? Kind of, we'll backtrack a little bit, because your background was real estate over 20 years successfully. We've talked about, the number of homes, over 900 homes in a year, $4 million gross, net $2 million. But what started that idea that I even want to move in this direction? Most people would say, let me go find my way out to a beach on an island somewhere and live the good life. Whereas you wanted to, from my perspective, from where I'm sitting, it seems that you had some bug or itch to go out and create something that was going to give value back to the community. So what started that idea? What prompted that?
Sure. Well, I mean, the basic fact is that real estate's been done the same way for such a long time, Rod. I mean, it's been 50, 60 years of people doing real estate in one traditional way, which is me as a real estate broker. I've got information that you, the general public, doesn't have. Correct. And you're going to need to pay me in order to be able to share that information with you. Be that a listing, be that a potential property that I can sell. I've got this information that is mine. And ever since the internet's come on play, about 15, 20 years ago, what we're seeing more and more of is that this sharing data structures come out there where people want to be able to share. They want something social. They want to be able to interact. Correct. And real estate's not that way. Real estate's always been me having my data and you not knowing what that data is, and me having to demonstrate my worth to you in that way. But we want to create a value proposition that's different than that. I mean, I've always been of the inclination, I know as you are, is that the harder you work, the more you should be able to make. And in real estate, unfortunately, a lot of times it's the more I spend. Yeah, I can spend more money than you, therefore I can get more leads than you. Correct. And I can create a bigger business than yours. Correct. Which, for better or worse, is the way it's been done for, the last 50 years. Okay. So what we wanted to do is level that playing field, give real estate agents and brokers a way to demonstrate to the general public that they are good at what they do. They are adding value. They do know what it is that they're talking about. Yeah. We wanted to give a tool so that we could see personally who's out there doing their job on a daily basis, who's actually visiting the properties, who's actually knowledgeable enough to be able to say, yeah, that property is worth $1 million, or that property is worth $2 million. I mean, who can I trust to give me a true evaluation and a true value? So I wanted to create HomeBuzz as a way where people could collaborate about properties, and basically the cream could rise to the top, right? If you're a great agent and you're out there doing your job, people should be able to see it. People should be able to contact you, and people should be able to use your services, and you should get paid to do that. And if you're not so good at what it is that you're doing, maybe you go back to the traditional method of buying your marketing leads the way that you've always done.
Yeah. So this is more of a way, as I listen to you share this, as a way for, let's say I'm an agent, and which I am, and I, as you stated, I mean, you can really work hard in this business and oftentimes not see the results based upon the amount of effort and energy you put out. And so someone that has a bigger pocket or pocketbook, they can go out and they may not even be the best agent or and have as much knowledge as I do, and they can obtain a lot of business. But what now is you're going to, with this app, HomeBuzz, you're seeking to not just make it a level playing field. You're allowing agents to set the bar to say, here are who the experts, here are who the professionals are. And it also gives the consumer that transparency now, whereas in the past, they didn't have that information or didn't know, and they're not able to figure that out. So the question, as I make that statement that I have for you, how are the agents responding to this now that you're sharing that? What has been their response? And are they catching it? Are they seeing where the opportunity is with this? Because I see it, but I want to get that feedback from you.
We're getting a ton of positive feedback. I mean, most of the people I'm talking to are top producing agents. They don't fear technology. And if anything, they embrace it. They know that what we really want to do is we want to create a transparent environment where buyers and sellers can get together and they can transact real estate. Us as a real estate professional, we want to be able to add value to that transaction. So if I'm listing a property for you, I want to be able to show you that property. I want to get the most eyeballs on that property. I want it to sell for the highest possible price. That's always been the same. But on the buying side of things, I want to know, if you're representing me as a buyer, do you really know what the value of that property is? Can you demonstrate to me that you know that that property is worth the amount that you want me to make an offer on? And that's where I think we really add value to the buyer's agents, is by letting them demonstrate that, hey, I've been to every single property in this neighborhood. I know these properties extremely well, and I want to represent you in this purchase. Not only that, I know exactly how much you should offer. Me as a home buyer, I would want you as a buyer's agent to represent me, because I can see that now. Whereas in the past, I never knew, Rod, if you worked in Tierra Santa, or if you worked in Ocean Beach, or if you worked in downtown San Diego, I wouldn't know where you'd been, what you'd seen, or what you've done before in the past. Now I can, and I'm really excited about that, because the general public's been clamoring to say, hey, who are the experts? Who are the best people in this area? You know, if I'm buying a home in La Jolla, I want somebody who works in La Jolla, not somebody who works in San Ysidro and, you know, drives up to La Jolla to show me a $4 million property under the guise that they're an area expert. So I want to know that you're the best at the areas and the locations and the properties that you know the best.
Yes, and that's thanks for sharing that, and that's great. And on the flip side, before we get into the functionality of the app, you're kind of sharing the purpose. What has been the feedback from the consumer? Is there any way that the app allows the consumer to share that feedback in the way that you're getting feedback from the agents? Does the consumer have the ability to, or have you even had any communication from any consumers that have been using the app to say that, hey, I like it, or this is great, and I'm happy to see finally something like this that shares the transparency and gives us the information that we're really seeking?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that, because the reason, one of the people that we've spoken with is Jason Calacanis, who's a actual venture capitalist in San Francisco, and he had a horrible home buying and selling experience. In fact, he's still in the buying portion of it right now, but he sold his home in Los Angeles to move to San Francisco, and really wanted to find out how much a home was worth in San Francisco. You know, it's a lot, you know, different market than it was in Los Angeles. Homes were selling, you know, in a matter of seconds from the time they hit the market, and they were selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars above what the listing agent was asking. And every home that hit the market was, you know, supposedly the perfect diamond in the rough, greatest home ever, when really these were little, you know, not so nice homes, you know. And really what he wanted was, he calls it the truth about homes, or brutally honest real estate reviews. And I think what most buyers really want to know is, just tell me the truth about the home. I don't want the marketing mumbo jumbo. I don't want to know what it is that you want to tell me. I want to know the truth. I want to know, is it a nice home? Is it going to take any work for me to go in there and live there? If so, how much is it going to cost me? Is it a nice neighborhood? All those things that I really want to know about. But unfortunately, you know, for whatever reason, the listing agent isn't, you know, disclosing that to you up front, because they only want you to know what it is they want you to know, right? They want you to know that this is the best home ever. You should offer top dollar for it, and you know, all of those different aspects. But they don't give you the brutally honest truth, which is, you know, this backyard is not finished. You know, it's going to take you $25,000 to plant sod and put in irrigation. You know, they don't want you to know that there was a leak in the bathroom 2 years ago and it flooded the downstairs. You know, you just want to know those little things as a buyer. So what we've been getting, our feedback that we've been getting is, yes, the general public does want this. This is something that would be hugely beneficial to them, and that they're excited at the fact that, we're finally going to start getting some information that's not just marketing.
Yes, you know, it's interesting that you just shared that that story where you talk about, you know, the consumer, their experience, but on top, how they will actually seek out, in some cases, the consumer, the buyer will seek out the listing agent. And oftentimes, since I've been in the business more and more as of late, in a competitive market like San Diego, buyers will feel the need that, oh, I only want to work with the listing agent only. And there's a combination. At first, I didn't understand it when I first started getting into the business here in San Diego. And I'm like, don't you understand? No one's protecting your best interest when, you know, someone's still representing you, whether you know that or not, and someone's still getting paid. You're not saving money by working with your listing agent. It may increase your odds of getting the home. And it seems like in some cases that's the only concern for the buyer. Whereas now with this app, it gives them opportunity once again to have that transparency and have access to the information that's really important. And I'll share a story with you that I actually experienced with one of my daughter's friends. Her parents bought a property, and they went with the listing agent. And what they didn't know is that there was actually a leak that was coming inside the wall from the roof. And after they purchased the home and closed, just one evening, the mom went in the living room, and the whole living room floor was flooded. It was wet, and the wall was pretty much had mold inside the wall once they opened it up. This was already there before they knew it. And I don't know how it came about that the floor never got soaked, but long story short, their best interest wasn't protected. And it turned out to be a double-digit insurance claim for them that they had to come out of the pocket and, of course, pay the deductible for that. So I see that the app, it was really a way to also to protect the consumer too at the same time. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. I mean, you and I both know, and really what you're talking about is the general public thinks and doesn't really understand that they want to have representation. If you don't have a buyer's agent on your side, it's like going into a lawsuit with no attorney.
Yes.
Right. You're kind of relying on the plaintiff's attorney to tell you, what the problems are and what it is that you should do, when really you need to have representation of your own that's giving you feedback and letting you know what it is that you should do every step along the way. Real estate agents, they're making their money based on the fact that they're adding value. And the way that I add value as a buyer's agent is that I not only tell you what price this home's worth, but I basically take your hand and I guide you along the entire process from beginning to end, so that, just like you mentioned, if there's a problem with an inspection or a problem with a roof or a problem with insurance or something that we can find out about, we're going to find out about that problem ahead of time. We're not going to wait and then have you stuck with an issue or a problem at the end after things close. We want to know so that you can negotiate and you can make that determination and say, oh, you know what, there's a problem here. Either A, you can get it fixed, or B, you can credit me for it so that I can take care of it myself. But you're right. Everybody needs to have their own representation when it comes to a transaction. I just feel like when real estate agents take on that dual agency, which everybody wants to because they want to try to get that full commission, but realistically, nobody ever should.
Yeah, I'm in favor with you on that. And of course, I'm an agent, so I understand what it's like to be on the other side. And it's great when you can double in a property, but I've always gone back and looked to say what's in the best interest of all parties, and the client. And one of the things that I like about you developing this app is, unlike most individuals that may start up or have with a cool idea similar to this or real estate related, they don't have the background in our industry, right? They don't have that experience. It's more or less, let me get somebody to download, use, spend money, or whatever the case may be. Not so much am I providing value and a great experience for the consumer. And I think, in listening to you, you've really taken the time to really go and ask yourself the questions from the perspective of both the buyer and the agent, which is not easy to do. And you've been on both sides because you've been on that side as an agent, and now you're on that side mostly as an investor. And throughout your career, you've now come up with what I think is a great formula and with this app. And now we're on the topic, getting back to the app itself. What are some of the main or the important functionalities of the app that I would say are your favorite, that you like, or that you think is one of the primary reasons someone should go and say, hey, you need to download this today?
Sure. Well, I mean, we're basically the Price is Right for homes, right? So we basically are giving consumers the ability to crowdsource all of the opinions and all of the expertise of other people in the marketplace and be able to share that with you. So, if I walk into a home, I want to be able to say, yeah, it's a great, it's a great home. It's in great condition, but the location isn't so good. And here are the reasons why. And it's listed for $600,000, but it'd probably sell for about $550. And these are the reasons why. Or I want to be able to say, hey, this is a great home, great location. I love everything about it. And by the way, did you know that the backyard was, was landscaped with fresh fruit trees? And let me take a couple pictures of those and let me share them with you because, if you like guavas or if you like figs, This is, something, a benefit that you probably otherwise wouldn't have seen.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I mean, you want to be able to give people that additional value. Again, you're the area expert. You're the knowledgeable party. You should be able to communicate that with people that, that potentially is of value to. Also, on the seller side, one of the auxiliary benefits that we don't really talk about is sellers typically never get feedback, right? They put their home on the market and they wait for a month. And if they don't get an offer, what do? They reduce the price.
Sometimes they don't have to.
Right. Then they wait for another month. Then they reduce the price, never knowing what people are actually saying or what people think about their home. Wouldn't it be great to say, hey, let's invite every single person over, have them tell us exactly what they think and what they value the home is, and then be able to say, oh, look, you know what? We put our home on the market for $575 and everybody's saying it's worth $575. All right, cool. That was a good estimate from our real estate agent. And those are the things that right now it's impossible for you to get. Really, all you're doing is put your trust in the hands of somebody that's telling you something, and you want to believe them, and you want to, everybody wants to have that thought that this person has your best interest in heart, but do they really? And if they don't, let me be able to figure that out and be able to choose somebody else who does. And this app kind of gives you that, that meter again to say, all right, this person really knows what it is they're talking about, and this person doesn't. And I'd rather go with somebody like you that does, rather than him who doesn't have any understanding at all.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, as we sum up, the aspect of protecting the consumer and the consumer having transparency, and also knowing who the expert is and actually knowing who you're working with and what you're getting. You shared the story about sellers. Let me back up. Sellers not being able to really get feedback. I lived in Texas, and in Texas we had a service called centralized showing. And in centralized showing, every time a showing took place, if you were signed up and registered with that, and pretty much 95% of the agents are with the MLS board in Houston, they automatically agents will get the showing request, the follow-up requesting feedback, and it's very thorough that they can go through and answer as much as they want. But I actually had a client here, and we don't have that type of system here. I know that there are third-party companies that you can actually have that, but I think the feedback from the seller is very important, because I had a client one time, and I'm for me, my focus is about service, transparency, and providing that feedback. So, you can be able, when I say you, the seller can really gauge and know, are we priced correctly? Oh, if the agent said you really need to paint that room, or you really need to remove this carpet, or you really need to do these things. And sometimes sellers are reluctant because it requires spending money and time. But then when the buyers come through and tell them this information, I had one client, she was kind of annoyed by it. And I'm like, well, that's what you want. Mm-hmm. That's what you want. They're not picking on you, but they're telling you the things that it's going to take for you to get that price or not. And if you want that price, you may have to make those additional changes or then adjust your price currently to what the market is. So I like that you shared that. And moving along, one other question as we come to wrap this up, and we're talking about startups. How do you even get investors to even consider, if you're looking to get, to raise capital, if you don't have the capital? I know you obviously put a lot of money into this app, but at the same time, you're still looking for capital to be raised, and you shared your experience with pitching it. So can you share that? How do you even go about that process to even, if you don't have the money, are you looking to raise money?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, typically when you have a startup, you're looking for one of two things, and that's either growing that business organically and making it as big as you possibly can, and doing that over time, which can be a long process. It can take you 5 to 10 years to grow a business and make it sustainable and profitable. In this age of tech, as we know, businesses come and go, every day. And realistically, it's how quickly can you scale your business. So if you've got a great idea and you've got a great product, and you can demonstrate that, and you can say, hey, here's what our marketplace looks like, and here's what our potential looks like. Why don't you get behind me? And you can see that this is a $10 million market, or you can see that this is a $100 million market, or a $1 billion market. Let's figure out how much we can potentially make together, and how quickly we can get this from where it is today to where it is that it needs to be. And if that's going to take us, a year and $2 million, great. let's figure out how much of our company that we can offer to you as equity for that $2 million infusion of capital. But it's not just the capital too that you're looking at as a startup. You're looking for the expertise, right? You want somebody who's going to come in and add company value to you, because you don't want somebody to say, all right, here's $2 million. Let me know when you've made $1 billion for me, right? You want somebody that's going to say, hey, you know what? I've been through the process before. I know that you're going to need this on your marketing effort. I know that you're going to need this kind of a CFO. I know that you're going to need, this type of internet infrastructure. You want somebody that's going to give your company all the things that you personally wouldn't know what to do. I always feel like the best partner you can have, Rod, and you probably know, is the person who's great at doing the things that you either don't know how to do or don't like to do. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
If you could find a person who's willing to come in and partner with you, maybe somebody that's either going to offer you capital, or is going to offer you their time and mentorship, or their connections, or whatever it is that they're going to do for you, and they see your vision and they understand it and they know what it is that you want to accomplish, those are the best people. I mean, we're all looking for people like that, right? You want somebody in your business and real estate the same way. They're going to come in, they're going to add value, and in turn, they're going to profit from it.
Yeah. And I think you're right on with that. And one other thing that I would like to ask you is, and I was taking notes from my last meeting, you made a comment when I was, talking about this subject, and I was raising capital. How do you go about that? Who do you focus on? And you shared your story when you were up in San Francisco and you were pitching, your idea or your startup to investors, correct? And I recall you saying that one investor, or I'm not sure if it's one or if a group said this to you, but they didn't care if you had 10,000 downloads. You said what matters is if you got 20 people using it, that's something that's important to them. Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate on more in depth what were they saying when they said that?
Sure.
What did that mean?
I think the biggest key to any product is, do you have people who love it? I mean, do you have one person other than your mom maybe who loves to use that product, right? Do you have
your brothers and your sisters?
Exactly. And by what he was talking about, I mean, I sat down with Mithril, a big venture capital firm in San Francisco, and he looked at me and said, Christian, I don't care if you have 20,000 or 200,000 downloads for that matter. Those are just, downloads. What I really want to see is that you've got 20 enthusiastic users that are logging into your app multiple times a day and are finding a lot of value from it. Because if you've got that and you've got those 20 people, we can scale that. We know that there's an itch out there in the marketplace that you're scratching, right? You've got something that people want. And really for us, it's to figure out how do we get it into the broader audience that has that same problem, right? Because with any startup, what we're really looking to do is solve somebody's problem. Everybody's got an issue out there. Everybody's got a problem in their daily lives. With real estate, there's lots of them. There's plenty of places to start. And this is just one product that is scratching that itch. It's causing, a lot of stress from what typically happens in the real estate process to hopefully go away. It's giving people another tool, and hopefully a better tool, to go out there and accomplish something. So I love that fact. I love what Matt said about that. And he's like, you know what, if you've got 20 enthusiastic users that are using your product every day, that's great. I want to invest in a company like that. So that was great advice.
Well, I think that's, and thank you for sharing that and elaborating on that more, because I know that for people that are going to watch this video again or stumble across it after it's repurposed, that's to me, if they don't catch anything, I think that's important to pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. It's like, me on the social media side saying I've got 20,000 followers, but if they're not really engaging with me, what do you have?
Right.
And what can you really build on? And how can you really expect, if you're from a business standpoint, you're not just someone posting to have fun, how can you really see any type of return, or how does the consumer see value? So thanks for sharing that. And I think that, for those people that are watching, I think that's something that they're definitely going to get value out of and benefit from, because those questions do arise always. Where do I get the money from? How do I get the money? What's important? Not only where do I get the money from, what do they want? What are these investors looking for? And so for you, as the CEO and you're running this company, you just shared, it's not about just taking money. It's finding who lines up with your values, who's compatible, who can complement what maybe you're not good at, but they have those strengths. So I thank you for sharing today. This was a great conversation. What are your plans now going forward? Now that you're kind of in the thick of this, you're raising capital. capital, sorry, the app is now available for download. So going forward, what are your plans to continue to execute? And I'm assuming you're planning on rivaling some of these big giants out here like Truly and Zillow, correct?
Correct, Rod. Yeah, we're hoping that HomeBuzz can eventually take the place of some of the traditional real estate avenues that are out there, like the Realtor.coms and the Trulias and the Zillows that, have dominated the marketplace for such a long time. Our next steps basically right now are to scale. We're looking to grow from one market, the two markets that we're in right now, San Diego and Las Vegas, to additional markets throughout the U.S. I'm happy to announce that we just signed a data licensing agreement where we can now get the top 10 cities in the U.S. So wow. We will be adding them here, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, allowing users in the major metropolitan areas all access to HomeBuzz. And then we're going to listen to our users, right? We want this to be the best user experience possible. We want to continue to innovate. We want to continue to adapt. But mainly what we want to do is create a social, transparent, real estate experience that allows everybody to come together and do what they want to do. And you and I both know, if I have a home that I want to sell, I want to get it sold. Or if I'm looking for a home in a particular neighborhood, I want the best person to help me buy it. So that's what we're really looking to do, is if we can execute on our vision, we know that there's a big market out there for it.
Great. And you're right on point with that. And I really appreciate you taking this time out today and sharing, not just what it takes to start a startup, but your ideas, your concepts, and why you actually chose to start this company and build this type of an app. So how does the consumer or the agent find this app? Where do they go?
They can go onto the App Store, iTunes, or Google Play and download it, HomeBuzz, HomeBuzz, or they can find us on the web at homebuzz.info.
Any tips that you want to give to anyone once they download it, how-tos, what to do, or anything along those lines, or common things that you would recommend they start with first?
It's great for agents. It's great for buyers. It's great for sellers. Basically, make sure that you download the app, check into any home that you go see, write your reviews, estimate the values, add value, similar to like a Yelp-like experience, right? The more people that use it, the more people that are reviewing, the more people that are estimating, the more the community benefits. And the more the community benefits, the more everyone benefits. Again, this is for everybody. It's not just meant for home buyers and sellers, but it's meant for the community. It's meant for everybody out there to know, okay, here's people that are buying and selling homes and people that are experts in their areas. And if you ever need to buy or sell a home, you might want to talk to one of these people.
Yeah. And one of the things, kind of just to piggyback off your topic, is as you talk about how it's a benefit for both sides, I think about going back to the seller and also to the buyer. One of the things when you talk about saving time, as an agent, we spend quite a bit of time when you're working with buyers, showing homes, driving around. Buyers spend a lot of time scouring the internet before they even make contact and decide to get out. One of the things I like from a buyer's perspective about this app, if I were a buyer and you're watching this app is going to save you an immense amount of time, because when you're on MLS, you don't get to see this data. You just get to see homes for sale, images, maybe videos. This app will allow you to determine in the marketplace that you narrow down where the real value is and what home should you even bother with spending your time going to go see. And the actual professional to talk to. And on the flip side of that, as a seller, it saves you time and having to interview multiple agents, and you can focus on that one or those two agents that know your community or your marketplace very well. So I see value in this app, Christian. I really appreciate you as an investor, as a father, as a husband, just as a human being, feeling the need to bring something like this to the marketplace to make our jobs, I won't say easier, but to help us work more efficient and provide more value. And I appreciate you thinking of this idea to provide more value to the consumer, because at the end of the day, you and I need the consumer in order for us to stay in business. So thank you for taking a lot of time and effort. I know that you've put into this. You and I know we can go on for hours about your success, but I have been impressed with, this app in particular, because, me as a listing agent and also working with buyers from time to time, there's a lot of frustration that comes with working in this business. And I feel like this just gives me a one-up to differentiate myself from the competition as an agent. And I know that I can also provide value to my clients by directing them to this app, whether they're working with me or not, to say, hey, this is the app you want to use if you want to determine where's the right place and whether the prices are the prices accurate, to get all the information you need. So thanks for coming on today. And
sure.
maybe we can make this a regular, here in the future, and we can talk about multiple topics, since you're a man of many talents and you've obviously made and had a lot of success over the years of being in real estate over the 20 plus years.
Would love to, Rod. Have a fantastic and extremely prosperous 2016.
You too, man. Have a great one.
All right.
We'll be in touch. All right. Bye. So turn that off. Okay. My recorder